All right, so we're recording right now, but this part, of course, it'll end up being edited out. Um,
I got you.
and I'll ask you some questions, and those. Oh, you know what? I don't know what's up with my background. I just looked at that.
Uh,
I'm supposed to have.
oh, so we can't use virtual backgrounds? That's cool.
There we go. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'm gonna say I'd rather use a virtual because my background is
Yeah,
not the
yeah,
best.
yeah.
Hold
By,
on,
by all means, go ahead. Go ahead. No, I,
hold
I
on.
was talking about the background for being. Actually, should I use this one?
I'll just use a blur. That would be better.
Yeah, that's fine. That
Yeah, there we go.
works.
All right.
No worries. I think I've been using this one. Uh, man, I'll leave it at this one. I'll leave it at this
Okay.
one. And so also what I'll end up doing is I'll end up making you this screen.
Okay.
I'll end up making you that screen because it's not about me. This is an interview about you, and I want to
For
make
sure. I
sure I
appreciate that.
yeah. I don't need to focus. People hear my voice enough as it is, and we're here to make sure we can hear your voice and what you got to say. That's the thing. That's
No, I
that's what the
appreciate
way
that.
we're moving. That's the way we're
Man.
moving.
All right, bet we can do
So,
that. I'm down.
all right, give me a second, and I will begin to play the theme song, and then once I start playing it, um, we'll start going in. We'll start going
All right.
in. All
All right.
right.
Let's go.
One second. I started from the beginning. I wanted to start from the beginning. There we go. One time for the one time. Welcome back, family. I hope everybody is doing well, and I'd like to thank you all for joining us for another special edition of the Platinum Guest Series. Is what this is, as a matter of fact. This is it's a special series that I actually do. It's when I have platinum guests on who are coming and talking to us about their specialty or specialties. And today, good people, I would like to introduce to everyone another brother that we got to come and give us some educated. Our man, none other than
Man,
Anthony. Anthony,
appreciate you.
the tone untold, the tone untold. So we are absolutely happy to have you here with us, man. And you and I have been touching base, hit and miss for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Um, we were linked up through your brother, and I'll say that story for another time of the actual interview. We'll
Yeah.
get into that a little bit later, man. We'll get into that a little bit later. But since we are here, let me start off by saying, first off, thank you for hopping onto the platform. I absolutely appreciate you. Appreciate your time. I know you are indeed a busy man. Just
Thank you.
by listening to the times that whenever you are available and whenever you're able to do your thing, you are engaged in a lot of different things, which is
Yeah.
absolutely amazing to me. So, with that being said, let's jump into who you are, what you do, some of your background, and all that other good stuff. So let's start off by a simple question, like who tell us who you are.
All right, bet. So first off, thank you for having me. I truly appreciate it, and I'm glad we do get to have this to
Yeah,
talk as well and be able to help people and share because I've been doing this for a while, and I don't know, I just like to help people. Like I feel in business, people gatekeep so much, and I didn't have like mentors or
mhm,
people to help me, so it was like I had to kind of learn as I went, and then as I started meeting people, we started being able to get on the same page. But for a very long time, it was like very difficult to kind of get that alignment. But but to tell more about myself, my name is Anthony Wilson. I've literally worked behind the scenes for a lot of people's businesses in order to help them scale and go on, whether it was in the credit financial industry, as well as a couple other industries like real estate as well, to be able to help them scale their companies. And through that process, I was able to learn so much. I started getting real estate for myself because it's always been my passion. I had a period where I was homeless, and then I watched HGTV like every day. But I grew up building houses and stuff with my uncle, and my dad did landscaping. So I learned how to build houses, and I also learned how to like make the houses beautiful on the outside. And it was just something I fell in love with young. So it was like I just kept going through the process. But I'm a very simple person. I'm just a person who's like, if I can give back to some people, it's just something I like doing. I feel like it's not done enough, especially people gatekeep so much nowadays. In my opinion, it's personal opinion.
I absolutely agree. I've tried getting into multiple different ventures myself, especially being where I am in my career now, and trying to bridge a gap and begin to do things for myself and not so much for my current employer, and wanting to understand the nuances, the small hurdles that or the big hurdles that lead to the small hurdles, and trying to work my way through the different obstacles on multiple different things. But you very rarely find anybody who will take the time to be like, hey, I know you want to do this venture right now, but if you take a few moments and start this first and do this, do this, do this, do this, we'll follow up in about a month or two. But that might be a better way of going and doing things right now. And so
I would definitely say, like, the last job I worked was in 2017 at Walmart, and I remember when I told them I was going to leave, they were like, "Oh, everybody comes back to Walmart." I was like, "I'm not everybody." And then I did this. It's on my TikTok. It's called Thetoneuntold. If you look at the very first video, it's me going into Walmart, and I went into like Decatur, Georgia, and I spent like 3 hours just buying people Christmas presents. Like I was like, whatever you get in the cart in a set amount of time, I'll do it. And I was like, I did come back to Walmart, but I did a giveaway this time. So technically, I didn't come back, but that process of trying to leave, they was like, okay, everybody comes back here, and it's like, I'm different. I'm telling you, I'm different.
So with that being said, where are you from? Where did you grow up? Tell us a little bit about that part of you. If any scholastic journeys you may have had, the endeavors that you jumped into, some of the things that you've worked, and let's get up to that point of you working at Walmart and leaving in 2017 and where you are now.
I got you. So literally, growing up, so the first part of my life, I was born in St. Petersburg, Florida. So we call it the Berg. So I was born in the Berg, and basically I lived there till I was about 12. I actually started going down kind of a bad path, especially where like I'm from. There's just a lot of like, I can't say now, even though I do see it a little bit now, but it's like, it's one of them places where you got 3 options. You're either really good at a sport, you sell drugs, or you go into the medical field. Those are like your only 3 options. Like being real, it's very hard to get out because either the dope boys and everybody's out there, like they're on the corner, you see them, they will try to entice you. And unless you do some exceptional ball player, which there have been some made out, like my cousin made it out, you know what I mean? But it's like, unless you're exceptional going on, it's just not going. So my mom, when I was 12 years old, she got married and moved to Atlanta. Well, Gwinnett County, Lawrenceville. When I moved to Lawrenceville, that was when I kind of started getting a shift. And then I was able to join the 100 Black Men of America North Metro chapter around this time. And I had never seen a successful Black man that didn't sell drugs. So for me, it's like, for me, it's like, I have these dreams. Like I want to be successful. I want to do stuff. I was an entrepreneur. Even at 12, I had a lawn care business. Like before I left Florida, I had a lawn care business. But my dad had one, so it kind of made sense. Like I made my own with my friends. I wanted to make it out, but I just felt like, man, like this is gonna be hard. Like, this is not gonna be what to do to get it. And I didn't want to sell drugs because I just seen what happens. Like, I mean, I seen my first drive-by when I was 5, so it's like I know what happens, what comes with this. So when I moved to Lawrenceville and I joined the 100 Black Men, that was when I really saw 100. I saw like Black men who were successful, who like actually didn't sell drugs. And I remember I asked one of them, I think his name was Mr. Jerry. I asked him, I was like, so like you never sold drugs? Like, I was so confused. I was like, you never sold drugs, you never was on the corner, you never did. He's like, nah, 2-parent household, went to school. I was like, okay. You know what I mean? Like it's like, okay. And then I had some other people like Mr. Roosevelt from my church, who Mr. Roosevelt, he would just like talk, and he was my Sunday school teacher. And I love Mr. Roosevelt because he would have real conversations. Like for me, where I come from, you can't give me like no, especially age, you can't give me like no, oh, you just need to do good because God told you to do good. Like I get it now that I'm older. At the time, I'm like, I need something more than that. So he'll be real. He'll be like, yo, I did this, and I got gonorrhea from it, and this is why you shouldn't do it. And it's like, I appreciate that so much, because even at 14, 15, he gave me real, and I was like, okay. And then I had and then I had another one. His name was Mr. Keevan, and this man is like, I never felt like I owed anybody anything growing up, but Mr. Keevan, I always felt like, because of the conversation he had with me, like I had to be successful for him. You know what I mean? Like it's like I want to be successful for myself. I want to do it for my mom, but I want to be successful for him because he believed in me. You know what I mean? And so I remember I asked him one day, I was like, you know, how did you get because he had a beautiful wife, beautiful daughters, everything like that. I'm like, yo, how did you get that life? Like, that's the life I want. And he told me, he was like, when he first met his wife, Miss Paula, they sat down together, and when they sat down, they split a burger, and he was like, I don't have much now. One was in Spelman and one was in Morehouse. He was like, I don't know, I don't have much now, but if you stay with me, like I'll make it worth your while. And that to me was just like going. So that's why even now to this day, I always say exposure breeds inspiration. Until we're exposed to things, we don't necessarily, it's not that we can't be inspired, you just have nothing to inspire you. So it's like from seeing that. So as I moved up in Georgia, my stepdad at the time, he wasn't a very good man, I'm not gonna lie. My mom was very good though. Like he never did anything crazy. My mom wasn't going for that. But like growing up and just seeing like not having much money, it really sparked the entrepreneurship in me even further. Like, okay, so I started flipping electronics. I started like learning how to program and make websites. I started doing all this stuff because I was like, I didn't want to ask my mom for stuff because I just felt like, you know, like she don't have it, and I don't want to make her feel bad because of like the thing. So I just went and started going down my own path and started trying to, you know, make money and I got good at it. Fast forward to the time I'm like 18. This is when, I did theater in school, and I'm saying this there's a point from it, but I did theater in high school, but when I turned 18, that was when I first got introduced to e-commerce. I was on a site. The Dorito used to have a contest called Crash the Super Bowl, and basically anybody could shoot a video, and if you got picked, then you would win $1 million, box seats to the Super Bowl, to whatever the Super Bowl was that year, and you get $1 million. Oh yeah, it was $1 million box seats, and your commercial gets aired. Yeah, it was called Crash the Super Bowl, and they brought it back one year not too long ago, but they did it for years. Yeah, so it's like I did that, and one of the camera guys on there, his name was Chris, and he was like, "Yo, I just made like $4,000 from doing, you know, Amazon and blah 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 this week," and I was like, "Yo, what did you do?" Because I'm like, I'm trying to make more money. So he told me, he broke it down, and he told me about like the Square card readers. Back in the day, Square card readers were free, so you could just order one a day. And so I just literally went home and ordered 20. I made 20 accounts, 20 emails, 20 accounts, ordered 20 a day, and I started shipping them out. And from that time, I probably make like 14,000 in like 3-4 months. That was the most I had made up in that time in a short amount of time. So I was like, oh wow, like people really can make this amount of money. They really can do stuff.
What were you doing? Explain that a little bit more.
Yeah. So you know the little Square card readers people used to have back in the day, you could swipe them, right? Like swipe them and take payments at a bank for local vendors. Well, Square used to give them away for free. Now they're $10. But they used to be away for free on their website. So I made 20 accounts, and I would order every night at the same time. And then I made 40 accounts. Then I had 60 accounts. And so I was getting shipments every day, like the post office little bins. I had bins on every day, and it got so close. Me and the postal lady, she'll just be like, leave the old bin outside. I'll put it at your door. And we just working like that. So I was shipping out, and I was able to go. And it was like, you know, I didn't really have to worry about margins because I got it free. Ship, unless I shipped 5 or more, my shipping was only like $2.37. If I shipped 5 or more, it was like $4.98. But if I'm shipping 5 or more at $8, that's $40. Like I don't care. That's fine.
Yeah.
So then
that's great.
Exactly. But around this time, this is where I feel like God started to humble me. Because I had started just getting better and better at my craft in terms of e-commerce and making connections and going on. And I skipped over. I was my class speaker in my graduating class. So I actually just found my speech last week in my Google Drive of like my graduating speech for the class, and it ended. And it was pretty cool. But I had like the streak and I went, but I never realized that I had a tendency to not necessarily. Okay, you know how something is normal for you, right? Like for you, it's like if you're LeBron James, somebody do a pickup game, it's second nature for you. Like you don't have to think. So a lot of the things that I had done, I have been told my whole life, oh, you're gifted, you're smart, you're this, you're that, you're going to be talented, you're going to be successful as I grew up and got older. And what happened is I created a superiority complex that I didn't realize because it was built on the fact of, oh, stuff came easy to me. And so I had a bad habit of unintentionally talking down to people. It's not that I've always been a person to give back, help, do whatever. But because for me, it's like, this is so simple. Why don't you get it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you're talking down, and whether what my intentions were or not, that's what's going on. So I was in the wrong for that. And so I feel like I started getting to the point where I was like, I can do anything. I can go on. Like, I'll go anything. And around this time, it was like a series of events happened back to back. First, Amazon limited my account for a velocity review. So all my money was locked up. Then I had a slumlord of a landlord at the time because I was helping my mom pay the rent and the bills and everything. So it's I was slumlord of a landlord. So he was like, oh yeah, you guys are fine going on. And then at the end, he went to the courts, and so we got evicted. And I paid all the money to catch up, but he was like, "Oh, you're still behind." But he didn't tack on his fees when he put it, so we didn't know the fees. So when I paid it, I took all the money that when Amazon finally released the hold, I went. So I had no money. Then both of my car engines locked up. Like we had an Equinox and an Expedition, and they both locked up. The engines locked. One locked from a oil leak, and the other one I can't remember why I locked up. But it's like, okay, so I got no cars, no anything. So then I go back to Florida. Me, my mom, and my sister go back to Florida. We go be with my grandmother a little bit. My grandmother also done bad, so we took care of her down there too. And like went, and then we had an issue with the family, so we came back and we were staying in an extended stay for like years, just trying to figure out what to do, what to go on. And it was like no matter what I could do or go and figure it out. And back then I didn't understand. Now I view it as God, like, if you're so smart, figure this out. Because a lot of times God gives us gifts, talents, and abilities, and we make them our identities instead of using them as tools. You know what I mean? It's like, God, I gave you tools, and you're saying this is your identity. You're not an electrician. You're just a person who's good at doing electrician work. You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And so, so it became this identity going on. And so going through that experience, it was just like, it really broke me. And I remember I got to the point I told God, I was literally like, God, like, I'm not suicidal, but if this is all you have for me, you could take me now. Like, I'm not suicidal, but if this is it, like, you could take me now. Like, there's nothing here I really need anymore. You know what I mean? And so around this time, a hurricane hit, Irma and Maria hit. Like, I'm fast forwarding a little bit in the story, but around time Irma and Maria hit, and so FEMA, they started saying, hey, we're looking for home inspectors, and we're going on. So I'm like, they're like, oh, we'll get you set up. So I applied. I was like, cool. It was on a Facebook. This was like the most janky application. I thought it was fake. When I tell you, FEMA literally put up a Google document on Facebook, gave you all the requirements, and said, go to this site. That was the whole ad. It was just a Google document, fill in the form and send it. So like, you would think it's a scam, but something was just like, apply. So I applied, and when I applied, I applied to it, and it turned out to be real. And so I get a call, and they're like, hey, yeah, we think it's good. I got a call from Vanguard EMS. That FEMA outsources the home inspection part to do claims. Yeah. So I get outsourced to them. And as I'm going on, I'm like, oh, this is actually real. And then my homeboy from Florida, he came from Florida to escape the hurricane. He came, and I was like, yo, bro, apply. So he applied, and they got him too. And so as we're going on, I'm saying like, yo, this is actually real. And then after that point, they're like, okay, you got to come to Dallas. You got to go. First time I ever took a flight. So I'm like, cool. Now, mind you, I had applied for local jobs, and for the first time ever, somebody actually said yes. Like during this time, I had odd end jobs. That's why I mentioned them. But the worst one I had was tree logging. If you do tree logging, God bless your soul. I respect you. You are an amazing person. You are much stronger than me. You know what I mean? But it's like, I had got a job at Golden Corral, and the manager's like, I want to hire you. I'm like, I finally got a job, and I get a call from FEMA saying, hey, yeah, we want you. Yeah. and I'm like, should I take this job? Because I don't know how long it was going to be. So I was like, should I take it, or like, should I take the thing? And I was just like, listen, to be an entrepreneur, I tell people you got to be a bit delusional. And the reason I say that is because even before I fully embraced being an entrepreneur at the time, or a business owner, I've always been a risky person. Like I will take the risk. Not like in bad stuff, but I will take a risk to like do better for myself as long as this makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like,
absolutely.
so it's like, yeah. So I was like, I'll try the FEMA thing. I get a free trip. so I fly to Dallas and I go to Dallas and I'm like, okay, what are you gonna do? They're like, okay, you got to go to the Department of Homeland Security. So I'm like, okay, like, and when you go to the Department of Homeland Security, you can't just go there. Like, they pick you up. They say, hey, go to this mall or parking lot. We will have a bus bring you to the Department of Homeland Security. So then I go in there and I'm seeing all these people, and like every 10, 15 feet, like you got paperwork in your hand. I've never been to jail, but from what I've seen and talking to my friends back home about jail, it's like every 10 to 15 feet, you're like, this is my paperwork. This is my paperwork. This is my paperwork. like everybody, every step you go through, somebody has to review that you're supposed to be here. So then we go in, I get all my stuff, and they're like, okay, we're going to send you to Houston. So I'm like, okay, great. And then they're like, no, we're going to send you to Miami. I'm like, that's fine. I'm cool. So then they send me to Miami, and they give me listen, the government wastes money. I'm not even going to lie. They gave me a food per diem of $75 a day. Whether I use it or not, it was added on my check. They paid for my room and board, and because it was a state of an emergency, it actually increased the allotment for your room. So I didn't know this, but I had a 2-bedroom at the Marriott, but I could have had a room at the Ritz-Carlton for my entire deployment. And I didn't know that because the rate was so high, it was higher than the rate at the Ritz-Carlton. But yeah, it was crazy. And then number two, not the building, but like what they allotted for us to have. And then they like got a cars. But like I said, this is the biggest thing, and this is the tip for entrepreneurs out there, business owners. My mom always told me, read the paperwork, because if you know the rules of the game, you know how to break the rules. If you don't know how to break the rules, then you get in trouble. Things go on. Because every rule, there's always some type of loophole, and you always have to find out. So when I worked for the federal government, I found out that in there it says you have to get a car at the compact car rate. That's very specific wording, because they let you get a car and it says compact car rate. So what I did is I go to the airport and I talk to the people there, and I'm like, hey, I'm trying to get a car for my thing, and they bring me out and what is it? Elantra, whatever that is. The thing, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
They brought me an Elantra.
That actual compact vehicle.
Yeah, like I'm 6'4". Like I'm not going to be in Miami in an Elantra. So I said, hey, look, what can you get me at the compact car rate? And they said, oh, well, you can get any car at the compact car rate as long as you pay the difference. I was like, what do you mean? I was like, well, we could tack on something else. So I was like, that's fine. So they tacked on roadside assistance, and that difference, I went from having a Elantra, everybody else in like the group, like because there's like hundreds of inspectors in this area. Everybody else in the group is like, yeah, I just got my car, and me and my friends, because I told them about it, we had literally a Mustang convertible, a Camaro convertible, a BMW, and a Charger. And they was like, how did you do it? I was like, I can't tell it because I'm no longer a homeless person. So I can tell them now, but it's like at the time I can't tell it. Like it's like I can't tell you, but I was able to get that. And the reason I even mentioned this whole part is because I want you to understand. I read what they gave me. I read that document. It was like 6 pages. I read it because I wanted to know, what does it say? And that is so important on this journey about attention to detail. It is so incredibly important to do that. And I was able to do that and help my friends in the process. Now, what's so significant about this is I went from not having any money at all to I'm making like $2,500 a week.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, yeah, like we're FEMA because you get paid per home inspection. And so I'm sitting here like my home inspection trying to do like 5 to 10 a day because they send you a list on a government issue iPad. They send you a list of all of them, and you just got to reach out to them and put notes and take pictures. So I'm going in and I'm getting through. I'm being very thorough. I was in some weird spaces where like people were like, "Can you go under my house?" No. Can you go on my ceiling? Ma'am, I'm 6'4". I'm not going up there. You know what I mean? Like if you tell me there's some damage up there, you can show me some pictures. I'll take your word for it. Yeah, I'll take your word for it. I'm not going up there. So it's like I go in, and through this time, I met so many amazing people because I'm in Miami. So all these wealthy people, I'm going into their houses and I'm doing a home inspection. And I'm like, this is like a golden opportunity to talk to people who I would never get a chance to talk to normally. Absolutely. So I'm sitting here talking like, hey, how'd you do what you do? How'd you do? And I met I met this one dude named Mr. George. He told me how he did his business. His was in real estate going on. He actually was one of the first people to get a wholesale license. Him and his partner get a wholesale license to sell marijuana in Colorado the year they signed it into legislation. So yeah, so he broke it down to me and told me. I met another guy. He was Floyd Mayweather's trainer at one point, but like he just told me how like he had a line of like spas and things like that him and his wife managed and everything. And so I got to sit down and talk to all of these amazing people and really just be like, wow, like I get to connect with them. I'm getting to have a full blown conversation with them, and so it just gave me so much knowledge and it gave me more confidence like going on. And then for some of them, because some of them like I would reschedule appointments to slightly later so I could talk to them more. Because I'm like, man, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. Like I'm gonna take advantage of this. Like I can do home inspections all day, but I want to talk to these people. And just hearing some of them telling me like, hey, you're smart. Like you just gotta stay focused, stay what you're doing, stay going. You have a very bright energy about you. Just like don't let it be dimmed. It started to build my confidence back because I've been homeless for so long at this point that I'm getting kind of like, like dang, like is it going on? It breaks your confidence in a sense. And it did. God needed to break mine, but he broke my arrogance and my confidence suffered along with it. And arrogance and confidence is two different things. A lot of people get those intertwined. Yes, arrogance says I'm better than you. Confidence says I'm good at it. And that's what people don't realize.
I have one of my cohorts. He's on our Thursday night show. My cousin Dirt. We were standing outside. I'm from St. Louis, and I went home once, and we were standing outside after a podcast and after seeing one of our uncles, and we were having the debate, arrogance versus confidence. And I was telling him, arrogance is fickle. Yeah, arrogance is very fickle. It drains. Arrogance is unsure of itself, and arrogance, it's insecure and it hides. A person is hiding behind arrogance, but confidence can't be broken. Confidence is something that stays with you. It's a stalwart. It's there, and it's not something that's puffed up. It's a surety in one's self, or in one's ability, or in a specific knowledge of a thing at a specific time. And it doesn't say, well, I can't learn anything more. It simply says, where I am now, I have a surety about it, and I'm confident in that, and I can speak in the fashion of confidence. Whereas arrogance will always, as soon as you question arrogance, it's going to lash out. It's going to lash out. But that's a perfect point. Thank you for making that.
No problem. I mean, just to touch on that a little bit more, I always say this. When I was in Florida, I grew up fighting because of the neighborhood I was in. And it's not like I was a very quiet kid. I don't like to get in fights, but I'll fight because it's just where you come from. It's naturally with it. And as I got older, I started training in like martial arts, like wrestling, Muay Thai, and jiu-jitsu and kickboxing. And back then I thought like, oh, I could fight a little bit. Then when I could, you get calm. You're like, if people say certain stuff, they'll be like, oh, I beat you down. You like, okay. Yeah. Like, because I don't have to go. Like, I know I can get hit. I know I can get knocked out. I know I can get slept. I just don't believe you're the person that can do it based off of what I've been able to do and achieve. I'm not saying you don't have a chance. It's just that I'm very confident in what I can do. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so, so it's like that. But it's like God had to break my arrogance. My arrogance at that time, my confidence suffered forward. So I'm hearing these people, and they're like, "You're way further ahead than I was at your age. You're way further ahead, or you're wise beyond your years." It was like, okay, maybe I do know, but I feel I still wasn't very smart because when I was making that money from Amazon before they fully locked me up, they locked up about 10K when it was said and done, but I had about 4K I could have played with at the time beforehand, and I was just doing dumb stuff like buying stuff, spending like $100 on food, just going on. And when I was very young, somebody told me a spiritual person, a lady at my church told me before, she was like, "You're never gonna have to worry about money." And so I always say the version of Anthony that was told that was not the version that was going to receive it. And the reason I say that is because God gave me money when I made Amazon, and I spent it frivolously. Then he gave me another opportunity to work for the government where I'm making like $2,500 a week, and I'm spending it frivolously. I'm going to buy dumb stuff. I'm going to do this. I'm buying whatever I want going on, and I'm not being a good steward. So then he's like, "Hey, I got to take it away again because I've shown it to you again, and you're still not ready." So then after all this other stuff with the government going on in a meeting, I went back to stay at my aunt's house in Florida, and I was on her sunroom. And if you know what a sunroom is in Florida, it's basically a room outside where like you can go, where like it's like no air conditioning stuff. So I slept in there, and I was just like building my like marketing agency and doing whatever I could in order to learn. So like trying to get back on my feet. And then that's when I was able to get that job at Walmart. And when I got at Walmart, my managers loved me. Like literally, my manager Don was my first manager. Kirk was my second one. When Don hired me, and I sat down for the interview. I'm fast forwarding again because that's pretty much all the major details from the FEMA side.
Tell it the way you want to, brother. You tell it the way this about you, my man. It's about you.
Yeah. So it's like I get to the part of working at Walmart, and I remember during the interview, the manager name was Don, and I needed this job. Like I really needed this job. Like I was like, man, I ain't got nothing like that. Nothing's working for me. So he goes in the interview and he asks me, the same list of questions that he says, so what are yourself in 3 to 5 years at Walmart? And I said, not at Walmart. He sat back in his chair. He's sitting over his chair writing. He sits back and he looks at me. He said, what'd you say? I said, not at Walmart. He's like, why? I was like, listen, I have goals and aspirations I want to achieve, but I'll be the best person you have working for you while I'm here. You won't have to worry about me at all. But to say I'll be here in 3 or 5 years is something I can't commit to. He was like, I've never had nobody be that honest with me. You're hired.
Wow.
Because I just knew. Yeah, I just knew. I just told him, like, I'm not going to be here. Like, I'm here for it. And so as I'm working at Walmart, I'm meeting these people. Like I started out as a cashier, and I was a very fast cashier getting people through the line because I dislike slow cashiers. So I could have a full conversation with you and still be like scanning and stuff like, all right, your bill will be, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so from having that happen, I just got to have quick like 5-minute conversations with people. I like to call them like 2 to 3 minute conversations where I get to learn a little bit about them. They learn a little bit about me, and it's like I get to maybe get a tip from them. So I treated it as if like I get to learn something from who I'm talking to. Some people was just a pleasant conversation. Other people, it was, hey, I learned something. I appreciate the tip you gave me. Thank you. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so as I'm doing this and as I'm working here at Walmart and going on, I get promoted to customer service, which is, handling returns and all that stuff. And then there I get to have real conversations with people now. So, certain people, like, I don't know. I just can tell from somebody's demeanor whether or not they have something or they don't. And by have something, I don't mean money. It means they're interested. You know what I mean? Sure. And so certain people, when they would come up, I'd be like, hey, going on, hey, what can I help you with? Oh, I need a money order. I need this, blah, 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 right? And I would say, oh, okay, so what do you do? Because I just know. And they were like, oh, well, I own a construction company, da, 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 da. I'm like, oh, okay. So then I start asking them questions because I want to get them real estate at this point too. I just know it takes time, but I'm like, hey, I might as well learn while I'm here. So I'm asking, and I remember one of those conversations I had was with a guy. His name was I can't remember. He was a real estate investor in St. Petersburg, Florida, but I can't remember his name. But we had a great conversation. He walked off and went around the corner and came back. He said, I want to leave you with one tip. And I was like, what? He was like, what's scarier than not knowing how much you're gonna make every month? And I was like, what? He was like, knowing how much you're gonna make every month. And I was like, what does that mean? He was like, when you understand that, it'll make sense. And so he left. And so for the rest of the day, I'm thinking like, how is it better? And I realized something.
That's amazing.
I could come work with somebody for 60 hours a week. They're not going to pay me more, especially if I get a salary job. They're not going to pay me more. They'll say, hey, thank you for taking one for the team. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's some people's goals. But like I said from the beginning, I had bigger goals. And then I realized that I was always capped at how much I can make a month with very few like variations. So on 1 month, I may make $2,200, but I worked 80 hours a week to make $2,200. So you know what I mean? It's like I'm always capped. Yeah. And that stuck with me. Now, at the same time I'm at Walmart, I started building my marketing agency too, like helping people run Facebook ads and primarily Facebook. I tried Google ads, but I wasn't that good then. I'm better now, but I was tracking. So I started learning Facebook ads and I started like working with clients. And I remember I had a lady, her name was Ms. Alma. She was a real estate broker out of California. And she gave me the best piece of advice that to this day, I like love this advice. So she was a war refugee from the Serbian Bosnia War.
Oh, goodness.
She told me her life story. And when she told me her life story, the biggest thing that stuck out for me, And she said, I want you to always remember this. Life will never give you what you deserve. It'll only give you what you negotiate. So always make sure you like the terms you accept.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And so that
That is
sticks me to this
amazing.
day. Like, to this day, I appreciate that lady. Like, that is the most powerful quote I've heard. Like, I've heard a lot of quotes, but that is like the most powerful one that stands out to me anytime I feel like I'm not doing enough.
Say that one more time, bro, for the people in the
Yeah.
back. I'm in the front and in the back, but I want you to say that one again. I like that.
Yeah, life will never give you what you deserve. It'll always give you what you negotiate. So make sure you like the terms that you're accepting.
That's great.
Yeah,
Oh man, that is profound. I love that. That's great.
yeah, yeah.
That's
That
great.
quote, I was like, that's the best quote I've ever heard in my life, and I still use that to this day. So, from going there and running that agency, I had this big deal that was supposed to happen where I was supposed to sign this big client, going on and get them. And so I left Walmart, and the deal with the client fell out. It was a real estate agency in Australia actually, in Canberra. So we were going to be their marketing team to help them do for all their agents. They had like over 100 agents. So we're going to go, but then things went wonky and it kind of got out of whack, and it was a whole lot of like logistical issues in terms of fulfillment that happened. Just basically, we didn't have the manpower and we didn't structure it properly to get some type of competition first before we started building out the infrastructure. So
Okay.
logistically, it was just too hard to fulfill. So that didn't happen. I already quit my job. So for the next few like year and a half, I'm like, doing a little odd in like freelance jobs and going on, maybe get a Facebook client here, Facebook client there. And then during the year that Trump came into office the first time, he dropped the stimulus package. And when he dropped that, I literally took, and shout out to my mom. My mom is like amazing. She's a pastor herself. Like my mom is amazing. So
Yeah.
my mom, we both got our stimulus checks and we put our stimulus checks together. And I went and got a 2009 Chevy Malibu. And I remember it was a tropical storm going on in Florida at this time. And I just saw it on Facebook Marketplace. It was like $1,800 to $2,000. I can't remember. I just know I paid $1,700 for it in the end. But it was like
Yeah.
1,800 to 2,000. He listed it, and I came out and I saw it. I was like, "Mama, we got to go to this like car dealership right now. This is a cash car. We got to go." And so we go there, and it's like the like chairs are flying. Like it's a bad tropical storm. I'm knocking on the door, and the owner he opens the door. He's like, "What are you doing there? What are you doing? It's a storm." I'm like, "I know, but you got a car here that I want, and I don't." so he's like, "Look, if you're here tomorrow in the morning, it's yours." So I came in at like 7 in the morning. I didn't know what time they opened. So I'm there at 7 in the morning. Like I want to beat him here in case anybody beats me here. You know what I mean? Because can't nobody get in here quicker than he can get in here. So as long as I beat him, I'm okay. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I get in there and it's like 8, 9 o'clock because they didn't put on their door at the time they open. So it's like 8, 9 o'clock. And I'm like, "Hey, are you coming?" He's like, I called him because like I reached out to him on Facebook. So I called him on Facebook Messenger. I'm like, "Hey, are you coming?" Like I'm in the lot. He's like, "Oh, we don't open at 10. You're there?" I said, "Yeah, I've been here since 7." He's like, "You been there since 7?" I was like, "Yeah, I didn't want you to sell it. I didn't know what time it opened." So then he sold me the car, and we were trying to like send the money to him through like Zelle, but it was a limit. And I think the max we could send was $1,700. And he was like, "Man, you showed a high level of dedication to get this car. Like, I'll just give it to you for the 1,700 you can send."
Wow.
So he got it to me, got the paperwork, I got the car. I literally that very next day I signed up for Postmates. And I started Postmating the next day. And my mom was like, "Are you gonna enjoy your car?" I was like, "No, I need to make money." So I was like, the next day after I got it, my mom was like, "Aren't you happy?" I said, "Yeah, but I need to make money." So I signed up for Postmates, then I signed up for Bite Squad, then I started doing Uber. And people don't like doing Uber Eats and stuff. I actually genuinely enjoy doing Uber Eats. I thought it was pretty fun for me because, as you can see, I'm a networker. So I'm like, I get to meet people. So I'm doing Uber Eats in St. Petersburg. Well, there's a part of St. Petersburg called St. Pete Beach. And there's also another part not too far away called Clearwater Beach. So I'm just Ubering these places because I'm like, if I'm going to do this and make money, I might as well meet the people I want to become.
Sure.
So I started and so when people had like nice houses or very nice cars, I was like, "Oh, hey, what do you do? How do you do your stuff?" And so then I had like a notebook. I lost it moving back to Georgia, but I had a notebook where I would write down notes of like what they would say. And after I get them their order, if I get a chance, I would always say, "Can you give me one piece of advice you would give to yourself at my age?" Or at the time, I think I'm like 22, 23. So I'm like, if you give one piece of advice, so they would give me advice and I would write it down. So I'm like going on. And I remember this one guy, he was in Florida, and I go to deliver. He ordered from like this Indian restaurant, and he ordered like a bunch of food, and I pull into his like road, and I'm thinking it's like a road. No, it was his road. Like his whole road is his to his house.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I pull up in there, and I'm going in, and I'm like, oh wow. So his butler comes out, like his house is on the water. His butler comes out and says thank you, and then me being who I am, I'm like, is the homeowner here?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was like, yes. I was like, would he mind if I ask him a question? And he was like, I don't know. I was like, would you ask? He's like, he's busy. I said, can you just ask for me like real quick, like 2 seconds to ask for me? And so the guy comes out. It's like this dude. He's like in his 40s. He comes out. And he's like, hey, how can I help you? I tipped you on the app. I was like, oh, I don't want to tip. I was asking. I just wanted to know what piece of advice would you give somebody who's 22, 23 years old who's trying to do better? And he was like, I think you got it. Just keep doing what you're doing. The fact that you requested me to come out here.
Yeah.
And after, I'm sure, I forgot what the butler's name was, but he was like, after he told you no, you still requested that I come out here. He's like, you got it. Just keep doing what you're doing. And I was like, thank you. You know what I mean? It's like, you have to like, I just always believe everything has multiple purposes. Like with God, things have multiple purposes. God doesn't just take you through something to say, oh, you're just getting this one thing, there's it. There's always a lot of different purposes for what he's doing. And so for me, I always took the perspective of, if I'm going to be out here doing this anyway, and I'm spending, 8 to 10 hours of my time Uber Eatsing, I at least need to try to learn something or do something better. So even in my car, I only play like podcasts. Like I've watched listen to every single episode of the Bigger Pockets podcast up to that time. Like every single on real estate, I listen to it in my car. Every time I'm in my car, I didn't play no music. I didn't play nothing. I just listened to podcasts. Because I was like, I wanted to get into the mindset. Because people don't understand the power of your mindset. And this is what I say now. I've always been the same person. I just didn't think the same way. So, like I took the approach from, oh, I'm so good to I can do better. And that was the big paradigm shift for me. It's like, instead of kind of gloating on your accomplishments and what you're able to do, it's like, no, I'm nowhere near good. I need to be better. And so I just took that approach.
So let me ask you a question about that real quick. And because you kind of ran it down a little bit when you were saying that you had your moment of essentially getting humbled. But what else actually switched in? What clicked for you that said that gave you that switch in mindset that said that went from I'm so good to, you know what, I can probably do better? What was one of the things that helped you latch onto that to shift your mindset?
I would say the biggest thing that happened is after I told you earlier about when I told God, if this is all you have for me, that's all. I feel like at that point it started being like God started saying, now I can talk to you. Because you have nothing. You know what I mean? Now I can talk to you. It's just like it's just like we all have them. You have like certain friends that have certain stature, and you try to give them any advice, and they're like, okay, but they're doing better. But the moment they get down, oh, now you can have a conversation, and they'll actually listen to you. Before they have this thing about them. But God was like, in your arrogance, you may listen to what I say, but you won't take heed to it nor take it in. You'll just listen and say, okay, great, and move on. Versus him saying, you have nothing. Now I can take all the stuff I already have inside of you, and now we can build it the way it needs to be built. When you look like even in the case of real estate, a lot of these older buildings, especially in certain parts of towns, you notice they crumble, they falter, they go. The reason being is because in some of these buildings they did like tubes and bulbs electric, but they didn't put rebar in the foundation and stuff, so this stuff starts to crumble. And so the only way to do it is to tear it down and build it back up. Like tear it down, fix the foundation, and build it back up. And if you look even back in the Bible, that's what God did with the church when it came to Peter. He said, on this rock, I will build my church. Meaning he had to tear down the traditions of the church at that time and what they were doing and say, now we're going to build something new that'll last the test of time. Because this foundation got corrupted and warped over time. And so that's the story of my life. It got warped over time because I started getting consumed by the gifts he gave me. He gave me the gift of gab. He gave me the gift of just having charisma and leadership and all these things. And instead of saying these are great tools to use, I said, these are who I am.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like from going on that. Now, where the major shift happened is after all of this, even after all this is going on and doing, I'm like, God, like I need to like this is good, but this isn't going to get me out. Like I'm doing Uber, but it's just going to keep me trapped in the cycle. I need to do better. And, you know, like I'm doing this stuff and I'm going on, but I still have this weight on me. People think like, oh, I'm doing better. The weight's gone. No, it's still there. I'm still technically living in my aunt's sunroom, and I'm trying to figure this out of how I want to get, because I didn't want to stay in St. Pete. I haven't like I can't hang with none of the people I grew up with. We're not even on the same thought process no more. It is no disrespect to them, but we're not on the same thought process. So I can't be around them. And I don't want to be in the city because there's a spirit in the city. Like you can have everything, but the spirit in the city is very oppressive and weighted down, especially from people who I come from. Now everybody like goes to St. Peter. Oh, I love it. It's great. But if you're from there, you know the spirit I'm talking about. It's very entrapping and like, this is it. And I didn't want to be there no more. And so I remember I was sitting in my aunt's sunroom and I was working. When I was working, I had a friend. His name was Matt, and he's like, yo, I just met this Russian guy in a bar, and and he told me to read Think and Grow Rich, and I started reading this book, and you know, like I'm gonna start reading it. And then after that point, he called me like a couple days later, yo, this book is really good. It's changing my mindset. It's changing my stuff. And so I was like, what's it called? And he was like, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I was like, okay. So I started reading it. When I started reading that book, that was the first time I was able ever to connect like God and business. Because during this time, I want to do business, but like I've heard so many people do shady stuff in business. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to be that. And when I read that book, it made the connection of how God and business connects and how powerful your subconscious is. Like your subconscious doesn't have a moral compass. It only takes what you feed it. So it takes whatever you're feeling and takes whatever you say and put it together and creates. And that's how it is. So it's like that's what the Bible says is life and death in your tongue. So if you say I'm always broke and you have a feeling of despair when you say it, you just took the thought and the idea and goes, and now it becomes a reality. That's why you see some people that work 100K jobs and they're still broke. You know what I mean? Because it's like it's already creating it. Your subconscious says, oh, hey, he said this, he feels this way, create it. It doesn't say, oh, this is wrong. It just says, no, I'm going to create it. And that's why you have to feed your stuff good, like good knowledge, good fruit and stuff. And so I started reading it and it changed. And I remember like I'm working. I'm like, okay, I can do this. I can build. And I don't know. Something just happened one day. I was sitting at my desk working, and at like this table my aunt had at her thing. It was like a cookout table. And so I had it was a square when I would work on it. And I just sat back and I was just like, I listed out everything I felt over the past 5 years. Like the whole time I'm homeless, I'm like, God, I didn't like this. I didn't like this. I didn't like that. This happened. I didn't think this. This is like a 15-minute conversation. If you didn't, if you would have watched me, you're like, this man is crazy. He's talking to himself for 15 minutes straight. But I'm sitting here listing everything out. Like, God, like I don't like this. 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 And by the time I got done, and I was like, and I'm okay. And for me, out of everything that happened, that went on, and I told you, that was the first time in my life I ever admitted I failed.
Wow.
Because I never, you never heard me any point up until that say I failed. I just said, hey, this isn't working, this isn't going. But that was the first time I said I failed. And that's when I felt like God could really use me. Because he's like, hey, I talked to you before and I was giving you nuggets. But now now I've broken that shell you have. Because I'm still trying to hold on to like, I can do this. Like, yes, I'm down, I'm depressed, but it's like, I'm still like, okay, I can do this, I can do this. And it's like, no, you failed. You failed up until this point. Like you haven't done what you did. And it's not a bad thing. Because what I've come to find now is failure is the only guarantee on the success journey of success. Like on this path, you're gonna have failures. But I always say true failure is when you give up entirely. Failure happens, but true failure is when you say, I'm done, I'll take my ball, I'm going home. You know what I mean? That's when you truly failed, in my opinion. Now, from going on this and dealing, like, I don't know, I just had like a new spirit awaken to me after that, where it was like my productivity shot through the roof. And, you know, I feel like that was God, was like prop too. And the reason I say that is because I spent 5 years being homeless up until this point, right? 6 months after that conversation, I moved back to Atlanta. Wow. Literally, I started a company called Scale the Foundation. We used to help people go in and set up their businesses and put in automations and systems. And how it started is I started using it for my own thing because I was trying to get a real estate wholesaler. So I started building it for my own stuff, and I was getting it working. And I had a friend who like I kind of mentored a little bit. And I told him like I told him we go back and forth. And so he calls me one day and he's like, "Yo, bro, you know how you're working with like go high level and blah blah." I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, hey, you know, can we do this, and this, and this?" I'm like, "Yeah, we can." Going on. He's like, Good. I already collected payment. I'm gonna see you $2,500. You gonna spend it. And I was like, cool. Like we gonna figure this out. And then from that point, I got one client. Then he told another client. Then he told another client. Because back then nobody knew it. So I'm making stuff where like instead of people having to send out 100 emails or do this stuff manually, they can move like a person one time and it does like 6 things for them. Where it's like I moved them from this days to this days and it sends 6 things out. And so it just grew so big. And then I remember I got back to Atlanta and I'm still doing Uber. Back in Atlanta. I'm like, I still want to make some money going on. And I remember we went to my mentor. He had a conference in Philly. That one of the guys who signed up. He's like, "Hey, I want you to come speak in my class about what you're doing." So I'm like, "Bet." So he's like, "I need to come to Philly." And at this time, I spent so much money, like getting back to Georgia, paying, getting all this stuff going on because we didn't have a bunch of clients, but we had a good little bit. I'm about doing like 3-4K a month. So I'm like, okay, we're going back. So I take all my money, go back to Atlanta, and when I'm back there, I spent all my money moving back. So I got nothing. And so I'm in Uber. I'm Ubering in Buckhead, and I'm like, God, I'm not gonna make enough to pay my rent this month. Like, if something don't happen on this trip to Philly, because I'm also Ubering to pay for this trip to Philly to drive. So I'm like, okay, we can go, and we go to Philly, and when we go up to Philly, we speak at the class. We made $80,000 that day.
What?
Yeah, literally from speaking at one engagement, we made 80 grand, and it was just like,
oh, that's amazing.
I was like, oh my gosh. So after that point, I'm like, oh wow, I really can do this. So then we started like scaling, putting stuff in, traveling, speaking more. But at this time, I still was behind the scenes. Like at the time, I was very much like, because I'm a person who's like, I don't have to be known. You don't have to know who I am. I don't really care. I just like to be able to do what I do and go by my day. I don't have to be out here speaking. It's just not something I like to do. Now, even though I did theater, I know it's contradictory, but if I did theater, I didn't really like speaking on stage.
I understand. I do theater now. I get it. Yeah.
You feel me? So it's like, so from going and doing that, literally, it was just like, oh, wow, this is happening. So I started building and scaling and going. And then that business went really good. I actually sold my thing in that because me and my business partner split. And I started another company. It was called True Pro. And when we started True Pro, I started really like building and scaling it. And in the very beginning, we had like really good setup and we're getting really good results. And then all this stuff with Amazon happened and they like crushed. But I remember my business partner from my last company, he told me, like, I was the brains. I was the person that put the system together. I built the stuff. I did the customer service. Like even when I sold, clients called me and were like, "Oh, are you gone?" I was like, "Yeah, we split up." He was like, "Oh, I gotta go find another service provider. I can't work nowhere. I gotta go find."
Man.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So, like they wanted to go because I was the person who was talking to him and going. Like my business partner, he's really good at sales. He's really good at going, but he's good at like 5-minute relationships. He's not good at nurturing, which is he's probably much better now, I'm sure. But at the time, he was only good at 5-minute relationships, and I built like real relationships. And so from going in there and doing it and meeting and seeing and talking to these people, they were like, "Hey, I like you." So they was like, "Are you gonna do it?" I was like, "Nah, I don't want to go into somewhere." And I was a little bit depressed. And then my mom, I realized I skipped ahead. That's why I'm going back a little bit. And then my mom, she kind of saw me in the rut, and it was like, okay, I want you to call me real quick. Now, when I was homeless, we used to walk around Gwinnett Place Mall and just sit and talk, and that was when I felt the closest to God. So after all this happened, my mom takes me to Gwinnett Place Mall. She's like, "We're just gonna walk." And mind you, I'm like far past being homeless now, but I take a walk. It's like God just downloads all this stuff for the next company I'm gonna do to me. And so as I'm going, I'm like, oh, I really want to do this. So then I start building, and I want to go back one more time. I skipped over an important detail. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. This is about you, bro. That's what I told you. Hey, you fast forward, rewind, pause, whatever you want to do. This is what we're here for.
I got you. I just think this is super important because my story, me and God has started my story. So I never like to miss the key stuff that he did. But I remember I went to a church the Sunday before my business partner split. And the pastor in there, he said he was preaching a sermon and he looked at me directly. Not because it's a small church. So it's not like a big church where he's looking in my direction. No, he looked at me. And he said in the next 72 hours, God is going to take strong people out of your life and put stable people in your life. Because strong people only know how to be strong when it calls for. But stable people are the same in all 4 seasons.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Good. And so then my business partner at that time, he basically was like, oh, I was the one that put food on your table. I was the one that gave you a reason to eat. So if anything, I'm important with her. You know what I'm saying? Like going on.
Yeah.
And in my mind, you know what I'm saying? I'm not bashing, I'm just being real. In my mind, I'm like, well, the guy who sent us all the clients and the reason we got invited to that conference, I closed him. You never talked to him until like after, you know what I mean? So I was like, okay, I'm not gonna go. And so I was going to like put all this stuff out there and go, but my mom was like, Jesus never said a mumbling word. He's like, just let God handle it. They persecuted Jesus. They said all stuff about him. Don't say anything about it. I was like, fine. So then as this goes on and as this builds, as this builds and like this kind of getting used to going, my mom sent me to Gwinnett Place Mall. We go there, and as we're walking around, I don't know, man, God just starts talking to me. And so I'm like, okay, great. And so I'm like, I need a name for it. And it was like, you know, like we're going on. And it was something that was like, she was watching a nail video on YouTube and it said process. And I just liked the name True because it was like trust. So I was like, trust the process. And so we called it True Pro because it was trust the process because we were in a process. And so I told my other business partner at that time, I was like, hey, I want to do this. And I was like, I want to make the Bible verse, Jeremiah 29:11, like the company verse, Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the, what is it? I'm drawing a blank now. For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not harm you. I'm paraphrasing really bad, but
yeah, no,
basically we did that. And then my business partner, I told him, he was like, that's how he knew it was God with him too. Because when that happened for him, he in his wallet, the scripture inside his wallet was Jeremiah 29:11. And it's a very popular verse. So people may say, you know, oh, it's just a popular verse. But the thing about it is a pastor told him years ago, you know, like, there's going to come a time when God is going to confirm his word to you. And he looked at him directly. He's like, when God's going to confirm his word to you, and in that moment, you will know that it's God speaking to you. Because this business partner was like, he didn't trust nobody. He was like, I do stuff myself. I don't want to go. But he was like, once I heard you say that verse, it just clicked in my mind. Like, this is the moment the pastor was talking about. Because this was brand new. We had nothing. And so then we're going in and building and things are going, and we go speak. We go speak on somebody's podcast, not podcast, but their class, like their mentorship. And we speak. That first month, we did like over $250,000. Like the first month, like we were fully up. So it took us 6 months to build it, and then we did over $250,000. And the reason I bring that up is because in my last business, our biggest claim to fame was like 100 and something in like 45 days. No, 100 and something in like 90 days. But in this one, I just did it in 30, and I did almost double. You know what I mean? So it's like awesome. Just going on. So it's like, oh, wow, we're building. So we start building, and I scaled this company like to over 200 employees as we go. And we had ups and downs. Listen, business is the most competitive sport you're going to be in. I grew up playing football a little bit too, but like business most competitive sport to be in is 24/7, and you're always like, it's up and down all the time. But what I learned from scaling a company that big is like what it takes, because then I got to meet an even higher class of people now who, you know, like, oh, this person's worth 80 million. Like, I remember I joined the mentorship with my mentor. He said in Tennessee, his name is Taylor Wells. Shout out to Taylor. And it's like, I remember I'm in there and I'm thinking like, okay, you know, I'm doing like $250,000 a month. I'm doing like really fine. Like, I'm happy. I get on there and there's this dude. He's like, yeah, we're kind of struggling to scale past 2 million a month. We really buckled our system down, but we don't. And I'm just like, all right. You know what I mean? All right. It goes on. Wow. So it's like, okay, so you reach one high. Like, if I go tell all my friends, they like, yo, you on like some Mayweather, you balling, you doing this.
Right.
These people, they're like, wow, you're doing really good for starting out. I can't wait to see where it's not for me. It's this, you know what I mean? It's like, so it just goes to show you that no matter how high you get, there's a higher threshold. Trust me. So it's like I'm getting to meet these people and talk to these people and get. And I like during this process, like through all the stuff I've done from scale on to this point, I've learned business credit, I've learned credit, I've learned how to like scale companies. I've learned different businesses. I learned structures because I worked with so many different ones. So by the time I scaled mine, when I put the infrastructure in place, it hit from day one. But it's like, if you look at it, you're like, man, he was really good. But it's like, well, I had a whole bunch of failures before that. And then even though I helped some people scale companies, I didn't help everybody scale their company to 6 or 7 figures. I had like 4 or 5, I got to 7. And a lot of them I got to 6. You know what I mean? Because scaling to 7 figures is scaling. In order to get to 7 figures, you have to cut your ego out a lot, and that is very hard for people to do. So from doing that, I've learned so much going. By the time I built my company is scaling, and as we go, we changed the name to another name, and God did not like the name. Like He did not. I'm telling you, like, and it's crazy. People are like, oh no, that's just crazy. No, the month I changed the name, my payment processor died. I'm talking about everything, like, just went
Oh
down.
my
Like, it
gosh.
disrupted everything. And
Holy
so,
cow.
yeah. And so my mom, she came to me and she told me, she's like, God is not happy about your name change because you didn't consult him, and he doesn't want the name that you use to represent him, because we wanted the company to represent God. And so from going there and doing that, it was like, okay, so we changed the name back, everything picked back up. Payment processor gets fixed in like a week. Like, you can't make this stuff up. Like, payment processor gets fixed like a week. The ads start hitting again, everything starts picking back up. And it just goes to show, like, you can be going down the right path and make a wrong turn. God is like, I'm not there. And then he'll show you, like, you listen, turn back around, go back, and then continue where you was at. And that's a lot of times we try to beat God somewhere thinking like, oh, I want to turn this into this, because we just wanted to make it a parent company and be able to have different ventures. And God's like, no, this is for this. You're going somewhere else with it. This is for this. And so from going in there, we went, and then things started to get really bad towards the end. Like, I'm just fast one a little bit more. There's not a lot of significance there, but it started really bad toward the end, and me and my business partner split due to like personal reasons and different issues going on. But we're all still cool. There's no beef or anything. It's just, you know, as you go on, people do split up. You think it's a lifelong marriage. But a lot of times stuff happens along the way, and you start to move. That's happened to my first business partner with his name. I don't want to say his name because I don't want to bash him. Like, I think he's an amazing person. I think he's very talented. I think he's very good. But during the first one, when I first was there, I was an operator. And if you know what an operator is basically a person that doesn't do. But I started to become a visionary working there. And so when I started my next company, I became the visionary because God was like, I called you to be to the front. All your gifts and talents are for the front, but you're trying to be on the back end. You have to be in the front because you got to use your voice. I didn't give you a voice to be silent.
Yeah.
So my next one, I became a visionary. But then if I looked, when I looked at my whole journey, I realized what God did. In order to have a successful company, you need 3 key components. It doesn't mean that all 3 are the founders, but you need these in your businesses. You need an operator, you need a visionary, and you need a promoter. A visionary says, hey, this is really, a visionary says, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to build. It's going to be really great, and you guys are going to love it. An operator says, here's how we're going to do it, how we're going to put it together, and what's the operations to make it happen. An operator is your sales and marketing. And I love to separate this because marketing says, hey, we're doing something really cool over here. You guys should come check it out. And then a sales guy comes and says, hey, we're doing something really cool. You should check it out because here's how it applies to you. And so
that's good.
And so when you look at it down that lineage, God, like between that time, like when I was younger, I worked in car sales, I did cable sales, I did a lot of stuff. I was like, okay, I got sales experience. Then I started my own marketing agency, so I got marketing experience. Then in my agency going on, when I partnered with other people, I got operator experience. I kept going. So by the time I became a visionary, it was like all these years of companies that I worked in, where I was an operator, not including during scale, when I was an operator in so many people's companies, helping them put their systems together, that by the time I understood. And it's crazy how God works. I'm thinking I'm going through all this stuff just to get, and God's like, no, I need you to get all this together because there's something bigger for you. But this company I was told about, TruePro, it went in business bankruptcy because the business partner split. And so then it was just like too many things going on back to back. And I don't like businesses that depend on other outside forces I can't control. The biggest thing for our business is we depend on Amazon so much that Amazon changes its policies like without warning, and it's internal service, so you can't do anything about it. And so it causes so many logistics. But even during the time I had this company, I told you I did the video about doing outreach and giving back to families and things like that. Yeah. And then also I had a men's group home in Decatur, Georgia, for like men who were coming out of homelessness and drug rehab. And I was basically, helping them get back on their feet. So they would come in, they would come check in. We would get them their social security cards, their IDs that they didn't have and stuff like that. And then I had a connection with a couple of temp agencies where I would take them up to the temp agency. They would sit in there, get all their stuff, and then they'd be able to get a job in like a warehouse, like a bread warehouse or something else. It didn't matter whether they were felons and stuff. It was just like, hey, they're trying to get back on their feet. And that is the most grueling. Like nowadays, I see people posting so much about like, oh, you can start a group home. And so it's not. Because I got another friend right now, he's killing it, but he does his for like sexual predators, and you just run into so many issues, and you realize like you want to help, but it's just so hard with certain demographics. And I don't mean demographics as in skin color, I mean demographics as in where they're coming from, like, coming from a drug rehab center, coming from all this stuff. it's just so hard. And then I actually had a dude who came in my house was a sex offender, and the other people were like trying to like low key kill him. And I'm like, yo, I'm like, hey man, look, he was a guy. He got like, this is like 40, 50 years ago, and like when it's happening, he was trying to get his life on track. And you know, I truly believe, I don't condone sexual sin. I don't condone like any of that stuff about like sexual assault and stuff. But God forgives everybody. And this man has been on the straight and narrow for the past 40 years, because he was in his 50s. So he's been on the straight and narrow like the past 40 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't deserve to be killed for that. You know what I mean? Like, not at this stage. If you wanted to do it or do something, maybe you can make an argument now. But he's like, he's just trying to move past it. And then he showed me his paperwork, because when they came in, if they came out of jail, or like or they came out, no, if they came out of jail or they had a record or they had anything in their past, I told them, tell me now so I can help you. Yeah. Don't wait until I find out, because if I find out, then I can't do anything. But if I know beforehand, I can at least try to help you. And so he didn't tell us until it was late. And when it did, and the guys found out, you know, these men got daughters. So they're like, oh, nah. I said, go. So I had to get him out. He was like boohoo crying in the back porch. I'm like, man, I'm so sorry. I wish there was something I could do for you. But like, I can't do that. Yeah, so he went out. But it's just like going to see that going on and doing it just made me realize, like, we are so fortunate in what we have, and we don't realize what to do. And I truly believe that the greatest amount of success you can have is inspiring somebody else to be successful. And what I mean is out of all my stuff that I did, and as I went, I felt like God was like, hey, I'm giving you this stuff, but you need to give back. Like, you can't just go in and keep pushing forward or do, like, you need to help those who are less fortunate. So during this time frame, there was like this kid who like this life-changing surgery, and I donated money, and I got like some of my other friends who had money, and we all put the money together to help him open up his noseways, because like his nose was closed, and the doctor's like, he had like 30% breathing or something like that. So we paid for his surgery to get him. I had just found out in like 2 days. I helped get all the money together to get it for him. We had I never really recorded. So even if you see me put on TikTok, that's like one of them. I've done a lot of things in terms of getting back. I just never liked record. I'm not an in-camera person. I'm like a behind the scenes. And I felt like, is it really genuine if I put it on camera? You know what I mean? And so I know people got counter arguments, but it's like, is it really genuine if I put it on camera? The only reason I even put that video on TikTok was literally because I was challenging other people to do it. Like some of my mentors, like, hey, you do this too. Like, you have money, you come do it too, and you don't got to. And they actually did. They went into a store in Philly, and like they took over all the registers, and they paid for everybody's grocery for like 2-3 hours.
Oh my goodness!
You know what I mean? But it's like it was mostly for that. But it's like, you know, just being able to really like go through my journey, go through my life, and go through everything you guys just heard. It really just like it made me realize what truly matters in life, and it made me realize like it doesn't matter how good you are. There's always somebody or something better. It doesn't matter how much you accumulate, it's how much you give away. Because you hear in order to be wealthy is how much you can keep. I believe that's true, but I believe that true wealth is shared. And I don't mean like everybody gets a fair share, but true wealth is shared. I mean, like, if you made it up, help somebody else up the ladder. Because even as you know, in our community, it's not very common. People make it out and they forget. And that's what happens so many times. But it's like, you know, what if I can inspire somebody else to come out? Because if I made it out of where I was in Florida, why can't another kid make it out? I was just blessed to have my mama married and moved. What about other ones? Or what about families that are less fortunate than, like, from being homeless, people think like, oh, they're all druggies, they're all this, they're all that. Some people just hit hard times. Like, it's not like they like went on, they hit hard times. From running a group home, I can tell, like, now I had hundreds of men come through, so I can tell like when a homeless person is on drugs or not now. For the most part, I said about 90%, but I dealt with a lot. But from having sat down with some of these men, like I've sat down with over 60, 70 of these guys, like one-on-one, and learned their life story, because I would actually go sit in the back with them and just talk to them. I'll sit in the back porch and talk with them. Even when I like I don't have it anymore, but I had a Corvette. I pulled up to my group home in a Corvette. And I parked in there, and they were like, yo, you did that? I pulled up and I sat on the back porch and talked with them, because I feel like, now I don't know if that was the safest thing to do. Now hindsight 2020, especially going on, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm just a very personable person.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I pull him on the Corvette, and I'm going like, yo, this is nice, da da da, and I'm sitting down. So we sit in the back, and we're just chopping it up and going, and then going, and I learned this, and a lot of these guys, man, like some of them is like their childhoods is really messed up. Some of them were just stressed out. Like one guy, he was literally a millionaire in a group home, and people didn't know this. I never told. He was a
Oh my
millionaire in a
goodness.
group home. He was a Wall Street stockbroker. He showed me all his paperwork and everything. Dude was a certified millionaire. He just got so stressed out working on Wall Street and all this pressure that comes with it. He literally started doing cocaine, and he was drinking. He had a really bad drinking problem. And so to keep himself from having access, he locked himself out of his finances. And the only way he could do that was by giving it all up. So he can technically access it, but he has like self-restraint not to. Because he wanted to deal with his problem, because he was like, this is gonna act like kill his vice. Like it's gonna make his vice worse. And it's like people, but if you've seen him, you'll be like, oh, he's just an old drunk dude. It's like, no, this dude is a millionaire, like a certified, like he's in my group home and he could buy it. You know what I mean? Like, but it goes to show that we get these like prejudice about us, and like, oh no, I'm better. It's like, no, you're not. And so I realized like you're not better than anybody. Like nobody's better than each other. We're all here. Like all my success in business and what I've done, if nobody's inspired by my story and nobody wants to talk to me and nobody wants to listen, or I can't help somebody else, I mean, what does it matter? You can't take it with you. It doesn't matter how nice I have. It doesn't matter what I do. Like it changed my life from going from like I just want to be like wealthy to successful. I want to build a legacy, like because money always transfers. It's a terrible wife and a great mistress. It'll always look the moment you're the moment you're not looking, it goes to the next house. But what stays is what people say about you. You know what I mean? Like and I don't mean the negative, but I mean like, hey, do you want to be remembered as, oh, he was a great business person, he was this, or do you want to be, he was a great man of God, he was a great husband, he helped a lot of lives, he changed a lot of people. Because I may inspire you, you inspire 20, and you tell them the story of how I helped you. They go inspire and say, yeah, I was helped by him, and he was inspired this, and you get a whole legacy built from people you never met. And so then when my future descendants go on, they're like, yeah, my uncle, grandfather, whatever, yeah, he was this guy. This is what was said about him. That matters more to me now in my stage of life.
That's amazing. There's a lot that you shared, and I don't. Man, I want to go for another hour. I really do. But I just pulled up in town. So what I'll ask is, let's continue the conversation. Let's get you back on at another time so we can continue to dive into this even further, because I want to also touch on the strategies you've used throughout the years to actually build your businesses. Like you were talking, you said you were doing ads, right? You would. So did you how did you learn how to do that? Did you put yourself through a class, a course, you get certified? And like even with real estate, did you take the real estate classes, or was it just simply from listening to the podcast that you was riding to all day while you were Ubering? Like I want to dive into all of that, because again, those are the small pieces that I feel, especially in on the roads in entrepreneurship, that people don't see, they don't understand. They don't get the space between point A to where you are now. All they see is a polished ending, but they don't understand the tumultuous road you've gone through to get to where you are. So I want to dive into that a little bit more. Just like talk about those nights where you found yourself, like you were talking about earlier, where you was like, man, I might not make rent. Where did the motivation come from to continue to push? You said something, you touched on something that I heard in the class not too long ago, actually like earlier this week, because I'm in the class right now called Boots to Business. And it's for service members, because I'm in the Army. It's for service members who are transitioning. Oh, absolutely. Thank you for your support, man. But it's for service members who are transitioning out but don't want to get into the workforce, because we want to work for ourselves. There's a different things begin to click as you grow up in the military. But he said something very similar. Taking risk, not simply being comfortable in what people would consider safety, and pushing outside of that. Right? Because I want to pick your brain about continuously developing yourself and always being able to take risk and not settle just for a safety net. And
Yeah.
even going back to the thing that you spoke about, being afraid of how much you can make, right?
Yeah.
So because that those are nuggets that I don't think you sum them up and you hit those different points. And I just wanted to hear you talk, but you hit those different points. But there's so much to unpack in each one of those that
Yeah.
we've got to circle back around. And next time we're recording this, and I'm going to end up getting it chopped up and split up and pushed out either by Sunday or Monday. But
Yeah.
going live so that people can hop on and ask questions
Yeah.
if you're comfortable with that, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
But yeah, because that's even having a segment either on a Wednesday or a Thursday
Yeah.
where I usually have people on, so that because that's Key came on one of those, as a matter of fact. um but talking about breaking stuff down, talking about that, putting that information out there, because people need to be fed by that. There's a continuation. Your setback is minor. Setbacks are always minor, and it's usually if you get up and you keep going just for a little while longer, that's where your success might just be. All right, so
Facts.
take that extra drive in your Uber and go to that go speak at that event and make that
Yeah.
80 grand that you didn't actually plan on, but the prayer was answered right then and there.
Facts. I will say this real quick too.
Yeah,
I will say this, and everything I did, I tried to concise it to like go on. God did so much during this time, so I
yeah.
feel like it's very hard to pack it very small. But what you're hearing me say is years of my life. Like it seems like, oh, this is just like, oh, this is going. No, it's like this is years. So it may sound like, oh, he learned it like this. No, this may have taken me 6 months to learn this, or it may take
Mm,
5 minutes to learn this. Like it's going on. So it's like I would love to break down this stuff further, because for me, these were milestones in my life that I really did. And I remember I used to tell my old business partner, he was like, man, I feel kind of weird because like I don't have the same like story you do and all the stuff you went through. And I'm like, well, what it took God 5 to 6 years for me to learn, it may take you only one.
yeah,
Because God was like, I'm more hard headed, I'm more stubborn than you. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And then
yeah.
and then even touching on risk, I would love to go on that, because this is one of the biggest things that people are so afraid of. And I feel like I always present a counter argument to this, especially when like I never discourage nobody not to go to college, but I always say this: we live in a university in a time today where unless you have to cut me open or defend me before a judge, I don't I don't think you should have it. I don't think you need a degree. We can argue. You know what
Mm,
I mean? Like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like, and it's
yeah,
real. So I would love to circle back and let people ask real questions, because I want that. Like I said, like I just want to be able to say, hey, this is the stuff I learned. Just ask. Like I don't care if you think it's a dumb question, so just ask. Like you never know. This stuff I've learned. I've been in rooms that a lot of people haven't been able to get into, where there are multi millionaires, and they're low key people you'll see dressed in like pads. Like I remember I went to a meetup with them, and I'm in here in like Balenciaga shoes and these nice jeans and everything. These men are in here in like Skechers and New Balance, like, and they're like, stuff, and I'm like, yo, I'm overdrive. You know what I mean? It's like pick my brain,
yeah,
like pick my brain, because people do pay me for consulting. They do pay me for stuff. They have in the past as well. And so it's like, pick my brain. Like, if you get the chance, just ask, because I want to do this. This to me is like ministry. This is me giving
mm,
back in a form of ministry.
yeah. And in the future, we'll be on the phone doing one-on-one stuff a lot,
I
because
got you.
and I think I told you this before. Like, there's a lot of stuff that I'm pushing to do as I sunset this current career. That's It's
Yeah,
opening up chapters and venues that I'm a risk taker. I love taking risks. I'm
there
always
we
like,
go. I'm
hey,
with it too.
let's just see what happens. Let's jump in.
Right.
Let's figure this out. It might be okay. We might get burned a little bit, but at least we'll be able to have enjoyed an experience, right? But
Yeah,
that's stuff we'll talk about a little bit later, right? But
I got
but
you.
before we go on the podcast with
Yeah.
every single guest, we do something called final thoughts. We do
All right.
something called final thoughts. And so just for this one segment, not for future, just for this one segment, it doesn't have to be anything you touched on tonight. It can be something that you just went through today and you had a thought on, or something you're thinking about for next week. Give us a final thought. Give us a final thought for this.
Okay. If I give one final thought, I'll tell you this: We all go through struggles, trials, and tribulations in our lives. We all deal with problems and issues that go. Just because you're going through something does not mean God has left you. A lot of times it means that God is building and growing you. And yes, there are certain times where God may punish you or chastise you for stuff you've done because it's in his word, but it all serves for a greater purpose. So please know that where you are may not be where you're always going to be. It just may where you have to go through to where God needs you to be.
Oh, that's wonderful. That is wonderful. And I'll get a final thought in also. I might as well. I've been listening. So on this upcoming weekend, Memorial Day weekend, this is for all of my brothers and sisters in arms. Let's take the time, as well as my fellow Americans. Let's take the time to remember those who actually have paid the ultimate price and sacrifice for us to enjoy and be able to enjoy what you see happening right here, right now, having a freedom of speech, a dialogue, being able to live in our country the way that we have been. We're not perfect by any stretch, but we are still striving and pushing forward. And that's the thing that's important. So those are my final thoughts to all my brothers and sisters in arms. I thank you for your service and your support. To the ones that we've lost through conflict, I thank you and your families for the ultimate sacrifice. The ultimate sacrifice. So with that being said, don't hop off just yet. Give me a second. But with that being said, as always, I thank you all for listening and tapping into us and listening to Mr. Wilson, Anthony Wilson,
Yeah.
Tone, right? Go check him out. On TikTok and Instagram, just as a reminder, as the Thetoneuntold. Follow him, check him out, send him questions, probe his brain. He is willing to speak. He's not a gatekeeper, as they call him, right?
Yeah.
So as always, family, thank you all for coming out. God bless, and thank you for being able to come on and share your story with us, Tone. I definitely appreciate it, man. I definitely appreciate it. It's time well spent, and I can't wait for the future, man. It's going to be amazing, absolutely amazing. Yeah. So with that being said, family, thank y'all for hanging out with us. God bless and good night.